The moment you stop being available, people panic. They don't say it out loud, but you feel it. The texts change, the tone shifts, the silence suddenly makes them uncomfortable. You were taught that being available makes you valuable, that replying fast shows respect, that always being there proves loyalty. Stoicism says something far more dangerous: what is always available is rarely respected. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he never rushed to respond to noise. He understood that silence, when chosen, not feared, creates authority. So what happens when you stop explaining yourself? Stop reacting immediately. Stop being available to everyone. Everything changes, and not in the way you expect. Part 1, why being available makes you weak. Have you ever noticed something strange? The moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop replying immediately, the moment you stop being available, people change, not you. They change, they question, they chase, they feel uncomfortable. Pause here, take a slow breath in and out. Marcus Aurelius understood this long before social media, before modern psychology, before notifications trained us to be constantly reachable. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." And one of the clearest expressions of that power is something most people are afraid to practice: strategic unavailability. You were taught that being available makes you valuable, that replying fast shows respect, that always being there proves loyalty. From childhood, you were conditioned to believe that your worth increases the more accessible you are to others. Stoicism says the opposite. When you are always available, you become predictable. And what is predictable becomes controllable. People don't respect what they can access anytime. They use it. Say it with me. What is always available is rarely valued. Look around your own life. The people who text you only when they need something. The colleagues who dump emotional labor on you because you always respond. The relationships where your presence is assumed, not appreciated. None of this is accidental. Marcus Aurelius never rushed to answer noise. He observed. He waited. He chose. Even as emperor during war, famine, and plague, he did not allow urgency to hijack his inner command. Here is the uncomfortable truth most people never say out loud. Excessive availability is not kindness. It is self-erasure. Every time you respond immediately when you feel exhausted, you teach others that your time has no cost. Every time you explain yourself to someone who has already decided not to listen, you signal that your boundaries are negotiable. And every time you show up out of guilt instead of choice, you train people to expect access without effort. Pause again. Breathe in. Breathe out. Modern psychology confirms what Stoics already knew. Studies on perceived value consistently show that scarcity increases respect, while constant availability reduces it. One behavioral study found that people rated advice as less valuable when it was given too freely, even when the advice itself was identical. The mind equates effort with worth. Marcus Aurelius did not say yes to everything. He wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Notice what he didn't say? He didn't say if it will disappoint people. He didn't say if it will make you uncomfortable. He anchored his decisions in principle, not approval. This is where most people struggle. Because being available feels safe, it avoids conflict. It keeps the peace, at least on the surface. But underneath it creates resentment, exhaustion, and a slow loss of self-respect. You answer messages even when you don't want to. You stay in conversations that drain you. You agree to things that cost you peace. And then you wonder why people don't take you seriously. Say it clearly: respect follows boundaries, not availability. Marcus Aurelius understood that leadership over others and over oneself begins with restraint. He did not confuse reaction with action. Reaction is automatic. Action is chosen. And when you are always available, you are living in reaction mode. Here's a situation you may recognize. Someone ignores your boundaries. They dismiss your time. They provoke you with silence or delay. And what do? You double your effort. You explain more. You become even more available, hoping to regain connection. This is the trap. Stoicism teaches that chasing respect repels it. When you chase validation, you lose authority. When you over-explain, you weaken your position. When you remain endlessly available, you remove the incentive for others to treat you carefully. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. In modern terms, that means refusing to mirror disrespect with desperation. Pause. Slow your breathing. Say it with me, I do not chase what diminishes me. Being less available does not mean becoming cold or cruel. It means becoming deliberate. It means answering when you choose, not when you are summoned. It means recognizing that your attention is not free, it is an investment. Think about this carefully. If someone had unlimited access to your home, would they treat it with care? If anyone could enter at any time, would the space remain respected? Your inner life works the same way. Marcus Aurelius guarded his inner citadel. That is what he called the mind, a place that must not be breached by every external demand. He wrote, "Nowhere can a man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. But that retreat only exists if you defend it." Here is a simple Stoic exercise you can practice today. For the next 24 hours, delay your responses. Not to manipulate, not to punish, but to observe. Notice how people react when you don't answer immediately. Notice who respects your time and who becomes irritated. This information is priceless. Data reveals character. You will begin to see a pattern. Those who valued your presence will wait. Those who only valued your availability will push. This is not something to fear. This is clarity. Remember this, when you stop being available to everything, you start becoming available to yourself. Marcus Aurelius did not measure his worth by how many people needed him. He measured it by how well he governed himself. That is the Stoic standard. In the next part, we will go deeper. We will explore the Stoic law of energy, why every reaction drains you, how silence preserves strength, and why conserving your inner resources changes the way the world treats you. Stay with me. Because when you stop being available, everything begins to shift, and this is only the beginning. Part 2. The Stoic law of energy. Before we go any further, pause for a moment. Take a slow breath in and let it go, because if you miss this part, you miss the foundation. Every reaction costs energy, not metaphorically, literally. Every explanation, every defense, every emotional reply you give without choosing, it takes something from you. Marcus Aurelius understood this not as a theory, but as a survival principle. He ruled during wars, famine, betrayal, and plague. If he reacted to every provocation, he would have collapsed. Instead, he conserved himself. He wrote, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. Be strict with yourself and tolerant of others." This is the Stoic law of energy. Say it with me, energy is finite. Attention is currency. Modern neuroscience confirms what Stoicism taught centuries ago. Studies show that emotional reactivity increases cortisol, drains glucose from the brain, and reduces decision-making quality by up to 30%. In simple terms, every unnecessary reaction makes you weaker. But here is the uncomfortable part. Most people are not tired because they work too much. They are tired because they react too much. They respond to messages they resent. They defend themselves against opinions that don't matter. They replay conversations that are already over. Marcus Aurelius warned against this exact trap. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, and thoughts are shaped by where you spend your energy." Pause here. Breathe in. Breathe out. Stoicism teaches that what you give energy to grows. If you react to disrespect, disrespect grows. If you argue with chaos, chaos expands. If you explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding, confusion multiplies. Silence, on the other hand, is not emptiness. It is conservation. Think of energy like water in a sealed vessel. When the vessel leaks through impulsive reactions, you feel depleted. When it is sealed, pressure builds. Presence forms. Authority emerges. This is why some people command respect without speaking. They are not louder. They are not more aggressive. They are simply less available. Marcus Aurelius described this as guarding the inner citadel, a place no external force should invade without permission. Here is a situation you may recognize. Someone provokes you, they delay a response. They ignore you. They test your emotional availability. Your impulse is to react, to clarify, to justify, to restore balance. Stoicism asks a different question. Is this worth my energy? Say it with me. Not everything deserves a response. This is not avoidance. This is hierarchy. When you respond selectively, you signal value. When you react automatically, you signal accessibility. Data supports this. In workplace psychology, studies individuals who delayed responses strategically, not manipulatively, but deliberately were perceived as 23% more authoritative and trustworthy than those who responded instantly to every request. Why? Because restraint communicates self-command. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. That estimate is where energy leaks." Let me give you a real example. Imagine two people. Both receive criticism. The first reacts immediately defending, explaining, justifying. The second remains silent, observes, and responds later or not at all. Who appears stronger? Not the louder one, the one who chose. Pause, slow your breath. Say it quietly. I choose where my energy goes. Here is a stoic practice you can apply today. For the next 48 hours, treat your energy as if it were money. Before you respond, ask, would I pay for this reaction? If the answer is no, don't spend it. You will be shocked how much peace you recover. Marcus Aurelius did not confuse availability with virtue. He understood that virtue is alignment with reason, and reason demands conservation. When you stop feeding unnecessary reactions, something remarkable happens. Your mind clears. Your words become deliberate. Your presence becomes heavier. People feel it, and some will resist it. In the next part, we will explore why your silence makes people uncomfortable, why they panic when they lose access to your energy, and how this reveals who was benefiting from your imbalance. Stay with me, because when you master your energy, you begin to master the room. Part 3, why silence makes people uncomfortable. Now something interesting begins to happen. The moment you stop reacting, the moment you stop explaining, the moment you answer with silence instead of emotion, people feel uncomfortable. Not because you harmed them, not because you did something wrong, but because you removed something they were used to controlling. Pause here. Take a slow breath in and out. Silence is unsettling because it removes feedback. It removes mirrors. It removes the emotional signals people rely on to orient themselves. When you speak, explain, defend, or react, others know where they stand with you. When you are silent, they don't. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." He did not write this to make you cynical. He wrote it to prepare you. Because many people do not relate to you as a sovereign individual. They relate to you as a function. Your reactions, your availability, your emotional labor. When those disappear, anxiety appears. Say it with me. Silence breaks patterns. Here's what usually happens next. Some people test you. They provoke you. They say things they know will trigger a response. Not because they want truth, but because they want confirmation that they still have access. This is not about communication. This is about control. Modern psychology calls this extinction burst. When a behavior that once produced results stops working, the person intensifies the behavior. When you stop reacting, others often react more. Marcus Aurelius would not be surprised by this. He wrote, "The best way to avenge yourself is to not become like the wrongdoer. Silence is not revenge. It is refusal." Pause. Breathe in. Breathe out. Think of a time when someone panicked because you didn't reply immediately. The follow-up messages, the sudden urgency, the emotional escalation. That discomfort was not about connection. It was about losing leverage. Silence removes leverage. That's why some people label it cold, arrogant, or changed. These labels are attempts to pull you back into the old dynamic. If they can make you feel guilty, you'll speak again. If you speak, the pattern resumes. Marcus Aurelius warned against this subtle manipulation. He wrote, "If anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake, I'll gladly change. It's the truth I'm after." Notice the condition. He did not respond to noise. He responded to truth. Silence filters noise from truth. Here's a real-world example. Imagine you stop justifying yourself at work. You stop explaining why you need time. You simply state boundaries. At first, people resist. Meetings feel tense. Emails feel awkward. But over time, something shifts. Those who respect you adjust. Those who don't reveal themselves. Silence accelerates clarity. Say it with me. What resists my silence reveals its dependency. There is a reason silence feels powerful. Neurological studies show that when expected feedback is removed, the brain experiences uncertainty, which increases emotional arousal. In other words, silence forces others to confront themselves. And many people do not like what they hear in that space. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. He wrote to himself not to impress, not to convince, but to stabilize his inner posture. His silence was not emptiness, it was alignment. Here is a Stoic exercise for you. The next time someone provokes you, wait. Not forever. Just long enough for the emotion to pass. Observe what happens in the space you leave behind. Who rushes to fill it? Who respects it? Who collapses without your reaction? This observation is intelligence. Silence does not mean you have nothing to say. It means you choose when saying something matters. And that choice unsettles those who thrived on your immediacy. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you. Silence is the embodiment of that principle." As you grow into this practice, you will notice something else. Some people will distance themselves. Some relationships will thin. Some conversations will disappear. This is not loss. This is sorting. In the next part, we will go deeper into something darker: manipulation. How unavailability dismantles subtle control games, and why those who benefited most from your reactions will resist your withdrawal the hardest. Stay with me, because when silence enters the room, the masks begin to fall. Part 4. Stoic unavailability is not escape. At this point, many people misunderstand what is happening. They hear the word withdrawal and think it means weakness. They hear silence and imagine fear. They hear unavailability and assume avoidance. Stoicism rejects all of that. Pause here. Take a slow breath in and out. Stoic unavailability is not running away. It is standing still while chaos exhausts itself. Marcus Aurelius never fled conflict. He faced war, betrayal, and responsibility head-on, but he refused to allow emotional noise to drag him into unnecessary battles. He wrote, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing. You don't retreat from wrestling, you hold your ground." Say it with me. Stillness is not weakness, it is position. Most people confuse reaction with courage. They think speaking immediately is strength, explaining everything is honesty, engaging every provocation is integrity. Marcus Aurelius knew better. He understood that reacting to every stimulus is not engagement, it is surrender. When you respond automatically, you give the situation control over you. When you pause, you retain sovereignty. This is the Stoic distinction most people miss. Unavailability is not emotional shutdown. It is emotional governance. You are not silent because you are afraid to speak. You are silent because speaking would cost more than it gives. Pause, breathe in slowly, breathe out. Think of a moment when you chose not to react. Maybe someone criticized you unfairly. Maybe someone tried to pull you into drama. You felt the urge to defend yourself, but you didn't. What happened? At first there was discomfort, then relief, then clarity. That clarity is not avoidance. It is alignment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are doing your proper duty, why worry whether anyone sees it or not?" Stoic action is internal first. External validation is irrelevant. In modern terms, Stoic unavailability is choosing not to enter rooms where your energy will be wasted. It is refusing to participate in conversations that are designed to provoke, not resolve. Here is where manipulation collapses. Manipulators rely on immediacy. They rely on guilt. They rely on your need to explain yourself. When you withdraw, not dramatically, not angrily, but calmly, they lose traction. Their tools stop working. Say it quietly: "I do not owe access to my emotions." This is why Stoic unavailability feels threatening to some people. It removes leverage. It removes predictability. It forces others to stand alone with their own emotions. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. He reminded himself, do not be overheard complaining, even to yourself. That wasn't suppression, it was discipline. Let's look at a real-life example. Imagine a workplace conflict. Someone undermines you subtly. You feel the urge to confront immediately. Stoicism does not forbid confrontation, but it demands timing. Instead of reacting, you pause. You gather facts. You conserve energy. When you finally speak, your words are precise, calm, unshakable. That is not escape, that is command. Research on conflict resolution supports this. Studies show that delayed deliberate responses are perceived as more competent and authoritative than impulsive reactions, even when the content is the same. Pause again. Breathe in. Breathe out. Stoic unavailability also protects something essential, your identity. When you react constantly, your sense of self becomes shaped by others. Their moods dictate your state. Their approval defines your peace. Marcus Aurelius refused this. He wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." And living for a Stoic means acting from principle, not pressure. Here is a Stoic practice for you. For the next situation that provokes you, do nothing for one full cycle of emotion. Let the urge rise. Let it peak. Let it pass. Only then decide whether to act. This trains sovereignty. You will discover that many battles dissolve without your participation. Others reveal themselves as necessary. This discernment is Stoic power. Say it with me, I choose my battles. They do not choose me. As you grow into this discipline, something subtle happens. You become harder to manipulate, harder to provoke, harder to predict. Some people will interpret this as distance. Others will call it coldness. But a few those who understand strength will recognize it as depth. Marcus Aurelius never chased approval. He cultivated coherence. That is why his words survive centuries. In the next part, we will face the cost of this path, the loneliness, the misunderstandings, the temporary loss that precedes real respect. Stay with me, because Stoic unavailability is not escape, it is the doorway to individuation. Part 5, the price and gift of withdrawal. At some point, the cost appears. This is the part no one romanticizes. No quotes on social media, no applause, just quiet loss. Pause here, breathe in slowly, and out. When you stop being available, you will lose people. Not all at once, not dramatically, but subtly. Messages stop coming, invitations disappear. The room feels colder, and this is where most people break, because they confuse loneliness with failure. Marcus Aurelius never did. He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." Withdrawal feels painful because the mind interprets distance as rejection. But Stoicism teaches you to examine that judgment. Say it with me. Not everything that feels like loss is loss. Here is the hard truth. Some people were never attached to you. They were attached to your availability, your listening, your emotional labor. When that disappears, so do they. And that is not cruelty. That is clarity. Pause, breathe in, breathe out. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. He was surrounded by people constantly, yet he often wrote about solitude, not because he was isolated, but because leadership demands inner separation. He wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Withdrawal is not abandonment of the world. It is return to the self. This is where the gift begins. As noise fades, something else appears. Space. Space to think without interruption. Space to feel without interference. Space to act without emotional debt. In modern psychology, this is called boundary restoration. In Stoicism, it is simply self-command, and it changes everything. Say it quietly. Distance restores proportion. Here's a real example. Someone who always answered every message immediately stops doing that. At first, guilt appears, anxiety, the fear of being forgotten. But after weeks, something changes. The conversations that remain become deeper. The requests become clearer. The respect increases. Not because you demanded it, but because scarcity created gravity. Marcus Aurelius understood scarcity intuitively. He never wasted words. He never chased validation. His presence carried weight because it was not constantly offered. The price of withdrawal is misunderstanding. People will say you've changed. They will say you're distant. They may say you become selfish. But Stoicism teaches this. If protecting your peace costs you approval, the price is fair. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Withdrawal corrects this imbalance. Pause again. Breathe in. Breathe out. There is another cost one few speak about. You will see things more clearly, and clarity is uncomfortable. You will notice how much emotional labor you were doing for others, how often you were absorbing moods that weren't yours, how many relationships survived only because you kept them alive. This awareness hurts, but it also frees, because now you choose. Say it with me, I am allowed to choose my level of access. Here is a Stoic exercise. For the next 7 days, reduce availability in one small way. Delay responses. Decline one unnecessary commitment. Observe, not judge, the emotional reactions this creates in others and in yourself. This is not withdrawal from life. It is recalibration. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. His journal was a private space where he reclaimed himself from the weight of empire. Your withdrawal is your journal, and here is the paradox. As you become more selective, you become more respected. As you speak less, your words matter more. As you disappear from noise, your presence intensifies. This is not arrogance, it is coherence. Marcus Aurelius never tried to be liked. He tried to be aligned, and alignment is magnetic. In the final part, we will explore what comes after this phase, the rebirth, the moment when silence stops feeling empty and starts feeling powerful. The emergence of a presence that no longer begs, explains, or reacts. Stay with me, because when you accept the price of withdrawal, you receive something rare: freedom. Part 6, everything changes, the rebirth. At some point, silence stops feeling empty. It starts to feel solid. This is the moment of rebirth. Pause here. Breathe in slowly and out. When you stop being available to everything, something subtle but decisive happens. Your inner posture changes. You no longer lean forward to be accepted. You stand upright to be aligned. Marcus Aurelius described this state without drama. He wrote, "Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break. It stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." Rebirth is not a new identity. It is the removal of what never belonged to you. Say it with me, I return to myself. At first, people notice your absence. Then they notice your presence. Your words carry weight because you no longer waste them. Your attention feels rare because you don't scatter it. Your calm feels commanding because it is not performative. This is not charisma, it is coherence. Neuroscience supports this. Studies on perceived authority show that individuals who pause before responding are consistently rated as more confident, competent, and trustworthy, even when they speak less. Scarcity sharpens signal. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. He wrote to remind himself not to impress anyone else. Concentrate every minute like a Roman, like a man, on doing what's in front of you, with precise and genuine seriousness. Rebirth is precision. Pause. Breathe in. Breathe out. Notice what has fallen away by now. The need to explain, the urge to defend, the habit of chasing closure. What remains is choice. Choice is power. When you stop being available, manipulation starves. Drama collapses. Noise loses its audience. And the people who remain differently. They listen. They respect. They meet you at your level instead of pulling you down to theirs. This is the Stoic threshold. Marcus Aurelius never begged the world to be fair. He trained himself to be just. He never demanded peace from others. He built it internally. That is why his presence endures centuries later. Say it quietly, I do not negotiate my peace. Here's a practical moment. Imagine you walk into a room now. You don't scan for approval. You don't rush to fill silence. You don't explain your boundaries. You simply act in accordance with your principles. The room adjusts. People always adjust to clarity. This is why everything changes, not because you became cold, but because you became clear. Not because you withdrew from life, but because you withdrew from noise. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And the quality of your thoughts is revealed by the choices you make when no one is watching." Pause again. Breathe in. Breathe out. Rebirth also brings solitude, but it is a different solitude. Not emptiness. Presence, not isolation. Integrity. The solitude of someone who no longer abandons themselves to keep others close. This is individuation the Stoic way, becoming whole by shedding roles, expectations, and borrowed identities. Not loud, not dramatic, consistent. Here is your final Stoic exercise. For the next 7 days, begin each morning with one question. What does this moment require of me? Not what do others want, not what will be approved, but what is right. Then do one thing, just one that answers honestly. That is enough. Marcus Aurelius believed greatness was quiet. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Rebirth is embodied. Now, before we close, I want you to comment one word you will carry this week, not a sentence. One word: calm, discipline, boundaries, focus. Choose it, commit to it. And if this series helped you, subscribe to Making Life Better, not for motivation, but for mastery. Because Stoicism is not something you admire, it is something you live. Stay steady, and I'll see you again. Before you scroll, pause. Ask yourself honestly, who has access to your energy without earning it? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. But power only exists when you choose where your attention goes." This week, choose one word to live by: calm, discipline, boundaries, or focus. Write it in the comments and commit publicly. And if you're ready to stop reacting and start choosing, subscribe to Making Life Better. Not for motivation, but for mastery.